challenge yourself to just become more self-aware of things that you need to work on so that you can get to the place that you want to be in life. Like to where you can stand on your own and be like, ho, ho, oh yeah, me, I'm her. Like, yeah. Oh, y'all know I do that. I'm sorry. Like, I apologize. I probably cut you off when I was talking to you. I apologize. That's not what I meant. It's something I'm really working on. So you can be so aware that you can apologize for something you do versus be defensive for something you do. That's the goal. Okay? I am wrong. I'm sorry. Yeah. Welcome to the Be Real Podcast. We are growing, giving ourselves grace, giving ourselves gratitude because this healing-ish is not for the weak. It's not for the... Hey. Nah, for real. Welcome to the podcast. Be Real Podcast is for anybody that's like, you have that gut-wrenching feeling like, I just deserve more in life. Like, I just desire more, but there's certain things that hold you back, like your beliefs, like how you talk to yourself, overthinking, just certain things just hold you back, and you like get stuck. Like you start to get stuck, but you like want to keep taking steps on this journey. But you also want to enjoy where you are. Like you get so caught up in where you're trying to go that you don't enjoy where you are. Like you want to enjoy being imperfectly perfect. You want to enjoy who you are now, but also getting to where you're about to go. This podcast is for you. So today we're going to talk about being self-aware and why it's important to be self-aware. And this is the first step on our 90-day journey, because if you're not self-aware about what you need to change within yourself, then how are you going to change? Like how are you going to do better and get the life that you want if you don't even know, or you're not self-aware enough to look at yourself and be like, oh, I probably need to change this. If I want to be have $1 million business, I probably need to start treating my business like a business and not like a hobby. That was shots at myself. But no, really. So let's just talk about it. So on my healing journey, my first step of me being self-aware happened after I had my daughter, because I knew at that moment that my choices were not only impacting me. I was upset about the decisions I was making and what the outcome was. Like, I was mad about it. But it didn't take until I had my daughter for me to actually look at myself, because I had went through relationships and they failed, and I always would point the finger at them. Like, you made me this way, you did this, and da da da. But it was never a time where I was like, dang, maybe I should have. Or if I did do it, it was for a split second. It didn't last long. Because you wrong, not me. But they always say, if you point one finger at somebody, two is pointing back at you. So my pivotal moment was after I had my daughter, because it wasn't enough for me to just change for me. But after I had her, it was like, okay, like it was really like something gotta change. Like you cannot keep doing this. Like the results that you're getting is not giving, sis, and you gotta do something else so this child can grow up and be like, okay, like have a good example. And so that is why we're talking about self-awareness today. I want to read a definition of self-awareness so that we can just understand what self-awareness is before we get completely into the episode. Being self-aware is having a conscious knowledge of one's character, feelings, motive, and desires. So I like to understand it's like I know like my strengths, my weaknesses, things that really get me going. One of my strengths is my podcast. Like I can really talk. Like I can motivate somebody. I can uplift somebody. Like I feel like I have really good energy. Like that's really one of my strengths. But one of my weaknesses is sometimes I don't like to have confrontational conversations. Like really deal with conflict. I can be very avoidant. I can be very like not act like I don't care, but really I really care. I can shut down and instead of communicating. Like that's one of my weaknesses. And so I'm aware of that. So if something happens, I can be like, okay, Raven, you're doing this. How can you get past it? Going back to me being in the relationship, having a baby, and then having a baby, and everything did not work out the way I wanted to. And so it made me start looking at myself, because I was just like, okay, what did you do to get here? And it was like the beliefs that I had about myself. Like, I believed that I wasn't worthy of respect in a relationship, or I felt like the way that I was being loved, that's normalized, or I felt like I always had to save somebody. Like, in order for me not to look at myself, I was always playing Captain Save a Nigga. Like, honestly, it was easier for me to go save somebody else than me to look at myself and be like, okay, you need to work on this, and this, and that. So it was just like I had to look within, and being self-aware is what made me look within, because it's like, okay, you're very insecure. Like, people are like, oh, you're so pretty. It was a time where I did not think I was pretty, and I had to work on my confidence. But if you're in a relationship and you're insecure, you're gonna take everything to heed. You know, like, you don't take everything to the heart. I didn't know who I was, so anybody could tell me who I was. So when I got to know me and become self-aware of me, I'm like, wait, you know what? You are a bit defensive. You do get defensive. You don't listen to listen. You listen to respond. So that can be very hard to deal with in a relationship. It's just certain things that I had to really look within myself and be like, okay, you're not emotionally mature. Like, all it takes is for you to, like, one thing to go wrong and you ready to snap. You know, like, that's not cool. I have to look and be like, what is my history of relationships with men, and why do I keep having this same cycle? And it's because it started with the man that helped, like, brought me into this world. Like, I'm just used to a certain man. I want to prove my worth. I want to show them that I'm worthy. And I had to know those things about myself, about my character, about my motives, and about my beliefs, because if I didn't know that I want to prove my worth to people because I felt like I was never worthy, then I would not be here to be able to be like, oh, okay, what makes you feel worthy within yourself without having that outside validation or having somebody clap for you and be like, yeah, you that girl. Like, what makes you feel like that? What will make you feel worthy? And so it's like, you have to look at those parts of you and look in the mirror and be like, dang, I am defensive. So when you do get in that conflict, or you have a conversation, you can sit back and be like, you know what? I'm sorry. I was very defensive. You know, like, even me as a mother, like, I have to be self-aware as a mother. Like, my daughter is overcoming a speech delay, and it can be very frustrating when she does not use her words, or it can just be very frustrating when I have to be a teacher, because I'm like, God, I gotta be a teacher, mama. Like, look, I'm one of the moms like, if Johnny got 2 apples and Adam got 2 apples, how many apples they got together? And if my daughter say 5, I'm gonna be like, if Johnny got 2 apples and Adam got like like, I'm going to be like upset, because it's like I'm more like frustrated because I know how smart she is. I know she's not paying attention. Like, I get more frustrated because I'm not raising no dummy. Like, I'm more focused on that versus like, okay, Raven, what type of day have you had? You know, like, being self-aware of what you really have the capacity to do. Like, okay, if I had a long day at work, then I gotta come home, cook, get her in bed, and then I still have to work on my business, or I'm just mentally drained because of all the duties that I have going on. Today is not a good day for me to teach. You know, maybe I just need to put on a teaching video and she can watch a teaching video, or maybe she can just do her own thing. I can do my own thing. I turn on her favorite show, I watch my favorite show, and we can make sure our cup is full so we can learn tomorrow. So I'm not an overwhelming mama. So I'm not a mama that's screaming at her about Johnny and Adam having the apples, you know? Like, but that made me become self-aware and be like, okay, Raven, check in with yourself before you go teach your daughter, because if you continue to move forward the way you're moving forward, teaching will never be fun for her. You may scar her more than help her with the way that you're teaching her right now. So I had to be self-aware enough to be like, okay, let me take a step back. Some days we don't teach. I mean, I don't teach. We don't learn, but she did learn at school, you know, like, but it's for the greater good. You know, like, I'm not going to push past my limit and then, like, my daughter thinks yelling is the result, or like she just sees me angry. Like, no, I realize that the mama, I am not as emotionally mature as I feel like I should be. Like, she can push buttons that can't nobody else push, and it's just like, but Raven, how can you respond? Because I always tell her to use her words. Like, how can you be more emotionally, like, okay? And so now I do like Okay, Raylan, I'm mad. Please don't do that. I mean, like, no, I don't say that. Like, I say, like, if she does something, I'm like, stop. Please, stop. And then I'll eventually say, like, hey, Raylan, like, that's making me mad. I communicate how I feel before I just snap, or I just, like, go lay down, or something like that. So that is an example of being self-aware. But that's the first step that I took in my self-healing journey, because I needed to understand why I did the things I did the way I did. And I understood why I wanted to be loved by men so much, because it's something that I yearned as a kid. I understood why I people please, because I never want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I want everybody to just like me. That was a point in time. But now I don't care. Like, now I know me. But when you somewhere you to know me, you be like, oh, okay, I'm really not that bad of a person. Like, or like, I don't have to do this. Like, I am self-sufficient. Like, I am really hurt, even with my flaws. And even with my flaws, I can improve them. I can work on them. I was not put in this world to be perfect, but I can grow through it. And so I feel like the best thing anybody can do on that healing journey, or just on a journey period, that they want to be better, is to look at yourself and be self-aware. Until you can look in that mirror and look at the strengths and weaknesses that you have and understand what you need to get better at, then I feel like that's where you stay stagnant. Like, this is me right now. I understand that I have to do certain things to get to where I want. Like, this year, I want to be serious with my podcast. I no longer want to treat it like a hobby. So what am I doing? While my daughter is not at home, I am recording on a Sunday. I got up this morning with a headache. I wanted to lay back down. My head was hurting. I took some pills and my head was still pounding. I ate. Okay, I'm pushing through it, because I cannot continue to say I want to have this $1 million business. I cannot continue to say that I want to have the #1 podcast, and I'm moving like this. And that's the truth. But it's just like, you have to have those conversations with yourself, like, nah, boy, you the reason why you not where you want to be. And you got to change something within you so you can get to where you at. You got to make them sacrifices. You have to change the way your brain is operating, like the way it thinks. You have to challenge those thoughts. You don't have to do all of that, but it starts with being self-aware. If you don't even know that you have the negative thoughts come from somewhere in your childhood, or the negative thoughts come from something somebody told you, then you cannot challenge it and be like, you know what? When I was in 3rd grade, I felt stupid because I didn't pass this class. Now I'm with this nigga, and this nigga's calling me stupid, and I believe it. But the fact is, I didn't graduated school, went to college, got a degree, got a good job. Like, you can't challenge it, or you can't work on it if you don't be self-aware and actually be like, okay, let me look in the mirror. So, like, that is just my challenge to y'all. Is just to stop avoiding you. Get to know you. And I have a podcast about that separately, but, like, be self-aware of who you are. Okay? Because it will help you look past your trauma. Like, not even look past your trauma, but work on it. And be like, okay, how can I move past it? And then you're like, I may need help in this area, because this is a very traumatic thing that happened to me, and I don't know what to do. It's just a way for you to just become better and continue to grow. So I feel like my challenge is like, have one thing that you can be self-aware about. Like, my one thing right now is I'm not disciplined at all. Like, I move on how I feel versus on what needs to get done. So if I don't feel like doing something, baby, I'm not doing it. And that's not just, I can't do that. With the places that I want to go, the things that I want to do, I'm going to have to push through if I have a headache. I'm going to have to push through if I'm tired. I'm going to have to go get some coffee and maybe take a nap later. Like, that's my biggest thing right now, is pushing past how I feel. As long as it's not health-wise, like, it's detrimental to my health, I'm going to sit my butt down. But if it's not detrimental to my health, I need to actually get up and do what I say I'm going to do. And I need to be disciplined with this and not procrastinate, and just, like, show myself that I am capable of it. And so I'm challenging a part of me that just has always been able to succeed on not being disciplined. I went to school for 4 years, and I was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, from Lawrence to Kansas City because I was in a relationship. I was not disciplined. I knew the syllabus like the back of my hand. I knew I could miss 3 days. My point is, like, with that 4 years of me going to a university and going to college and graduating, even with like me not being disciplined, it showed me that I could still not be disciplined and succeed. And so I feel like me not being disciplined and succeeding has been a formula of mine. And so it's something that I'm trying to break because it only works for so long. You know, like you really can't do that in the adult world. I was still like a kid when I was in college. So it's just like you have to break that pattern that you have, that pattern that you think that you can, excuse my French, BS. I want to say really cuss, but you can still BS and get to where you want. No, you're going to have to put in that work, boo. You got to put in that work. This ain't college, it's real life, okay? I feel like I'm starting to ramble, but I really want y'all to like really challenge yourself on like what's something that I could be more self-aware about, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're single, whatever. Like even in my singleness right now, it's like I'm finally starting to embrace my singleness. For the longest, I'm like, where my man? Where my man? Where my man? I'm like, you know what? It's actually cool just being in my own space and not having to think about nobody else but myself because, baby, when I'm in a relationship, I'm all in and I'm thinking about him, thinking about what he needs. I'm thinking about us. It's a, you know, like versus right now, I'm like, I only got to buy food for myself. I only got to cook for myself. I ain't got to check in with nobody. But I had to get to the point to where my dependency wasn't on a man. My worth was not on a man. So I challenged those things. And then I got to where I am now, where it's just like, whoa, I would much rather sleep in my bed every night by myself before I be in the bed with a man and I know it's not for me and feel so empty just to have a body laying next to me. That's where self-awareness has got me. Like, I would much rather sleep in the bed by myself, but it was a time where I would rather sleep with a body next to me just to feel comfortable, just to feel a man's touch. You know, not just any man though, let's be that clear. But just to feel a man's touch, just to feel wanted, you know, like, but now I don't want to feel wanted. You know, I want to feel valued. I want to feel like I have a connection. Like, that's where that self-awareness has got me. I had to realize where I was, and now it's gotten me to where I am now. But I did have a lot of fuck ups on the way. Like I did mess up a lot on the way, but it was worth it because now I know, because I challenged it. I challenged the person in me that wanted to stay in this space, and I'm like, I'm challenging the belief of I'm not worthy, and I gotta prove myself to a man. And I'm talking about this because this is something that I've done my whole life. This is something that's so relatable to me. Is just always wanting a man to see me, to feel me, to value me. That's something that I can really just relate to. And so I was able to challenge it after I had my daughter because I'm like, I don't want to have these same outcomes. I want something different. I want to show my daughter different. I don't want to keep the same pattern going in my family. And along that journey, I made mistakes. I would take 10 steps and then something would happen and I would feel lonely or something like that. And I would take 5 steps back. But now I'm taking 20 steps up. And then I probably like take 2 steps back. Or if I take 20 steps up, that setback be like, all right, okay, it takes me 20 steps, 2 steps back, but now I'm taking 10 more steps up because I learned from it. I did not make it become a part of my identity. You know, like, and I know my weaknesses and I'm self-aware of me. So I'm like, oh, okay, I know what happened and I know how to do better now because I'm imperfectly perfect. You know, I'm going to make mistakes on the way, but I don't have to make my mistakes become me. You know, like, and that's just another thing being self-aware. You make mistakes and then you be like, oh, it's your identity. No, baby, you made a mistake. Keep going. You're imperfectly perfect. I feel like I talk about this all day, but it's just like, just become more self-aware with you. Like I said, challenge yourself to just become more self-aware, things that you need to work on so that you can get to the place that you want to be in life. Like to where you can stand on your own and be like, who? Oh yeah, I'm her. Like, yeah. Oh, y'all know how to do that. I'm sorry. You know, like, I apologize. I probably cut you off when I was talking to you. I apologize. That's not what I meant. It's something I'm really working on. So you can be so aware that you can apologize for something you do versus be defensive for something you do. You know, that's the goal, okay? I am wrong. I'm sorry, you know? Or, you know, this made me feel the certain type of way, and I really don't like the way this makes me feel because it makes me feel like not valued. And if it makes me feel like that, it makes me feel like that I don't want to be in your presence, because I know where that takes me, because I'm self-aware, you know? Like, and that can be in friendships, relationships, jobs, anything. But that self-awareness is a key to unlock what you know, where you need help at, what you need help with, what you need to improve on. Look at you, because baby, you might be the problem, or you part of the problem, okay? I'm just a messenger. I think that's it. Like I said, I challenge you just to figure out one thing. Start with one thing that you feel like, I keep doing the same thing in the same area, and I understand it. Dig deep, see why you do it, and then try to notice when you do it, and progressively try to like improve upon it. But yeah, I don't know. This is great. It's great to be back. It's great to just be flourishing in my purpose and the thing that God has blessed me with, which is my voice, which is this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a comment in Apple Podcasts, and also go follow my podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or whatever you're watching this on. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a comment if you enjoyed, or even just like the video. I am really in a place where I just really want to be consistent with the podcast, and I'm not letting up. I'm not letting up. I am not disrespecting God this year. I'm not disrespecting Him and what gift He has put on my life. So before we end, I do want to pray. I just feel led to pray. So we're gonna pray, and then we're gonna end the episode. So God, I just want to thank you for just allowing us to be here. I want to thank you for every individual that is currently watching this episode. I want to thank you because I know that this episode will help them become more self-aware, help them to understand help them understand that there is actually a gift in being self-aware. There is a gift in just understanding the strengths and weaknesses they have within themselves so they can improve. Help them understand how they can improve. Hold their hand on this process, because God, as you know, this process is not the easiest process. Looking at yourself and understanding yourself and the good, the ugly, the bad parts of yourself is not always the easiest things to do. But when you partner with you, God, I am knowing that you will help us understand why we are going through what we're going through, and how we can just become better. God, help them to not just stop when it gets hard, but to keep going, to seek you, and to understand that it's just one bump in the road, and bump in the road is just something that you just gotta slowly drive over, and then you can speed up again. So God, I thank you for this word today. I thank you for just giving me the words that come out of my mouth today, just to be able to be a vessel for you, just to understand that people in this world do not have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. You are imperfectly perfect, and you deserve to just flourish in who you are, regardless of the flaws that you have, regardless of how you move, regardless of the things that you're not self-aware about. Because I'm knowing that after this episode, there will be a self-awareness that come over you that is just different, and you're just gonna want to do better, want to grow, want to just be better. So I just want to thank you. I thank you for listening to this podcast. Well, I'm gonna say amen. But yeah, I thank y'all for listening to this podcast. I really do love y'all. I feel like, yeah, just to be aware, because you just gonna value you on a different level, and you may lose some people on the way, but maybe they was never supposed to be there. But yeah, I love y'all. I hope y'all have a good day. And yeah, see y'all later. Bye. Be rare, be you, be authentic.